We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
And welcome back to another episode of the California Golden Bear Cast, a part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. We're finally back with a normal, long, form podcast. We have a lot to cover, so we basically said, hey, not an 89 Blitz today. We missed out, and a lot of this news is relatively late. We're like a few weeks behind on a lot of this stuff, so we're going to talk about a lot of that today, and it's probably in the description of the podcast that you're listening to right now. But I'm one of your co-hosts, Rob, alongside me, of course, Andy. Andy, it is Wednesday. He is mad at me because I potentially spoiled Loki, which I really didn't. All I said was it was a great episode. And so he's here. He's not pouting, but he is somewhat mad at me. But hopefully Cal stuff will smooth that over. But how are you today?
Don't count on it, bucko. Things are good, dude. How's it going with you?
I can't complain. It's summer's almost over. Football is around the corner. We're in mid-July. Fall camp starts the first week of August. We're there. We're here. We're here, Andy. It's so close I can feel it. I can feel it.
This is where the hype begins.
Yes. No TVA coming in to prune us from this timeline because football is around the corner.
My goodness. I thought you were going to spoil it again.
No, I went with I went with everything that you've seen, like the first 2 episodes of that TV show.
It's quality. It's quality.
Quality TV show. But, man, does that excite you that football's like right around the corner? Like we're within reach of at least getting to know like fall camp stuff, right? Like,
yeah, I went for a road bike ride with my buddy Charlie, fellow Golden Bear rugby player at Cal, and we rode through campus, and I was like, yeah, we're close.
We're back.
We're close.
Yeah,
it felt good. I was like, oh, nice. There are like people walking around, because like last time I think we were on campus, it was you and I in the pandemic, and that was it.
Yeah,
it was empty. It was totally
empty. Yeah.
So stoked is an understatement. Talked about it with, I'll give another shout out today. 2 early shout outs. It's Anderson Franco, avid listener, who was asking me a bunch of questions about the upcoming football season and trying to get him on board on the hype train. So I think I saw an athlete on campus, but you never know. I could have just been.
I saw a guy wearing an Under Armour Cal shirt, and I'm pretty sure he looked like an athlete.
Yeah, I should probably stop doing those. Given that I did get asked several times when I was in college if I was on the football team, and one of the times I was like, absolutely. Starting place kicker.
Holder.
Yeah.
Place kick holder.
You see me out there? I'm out there for 4 plays a game.
If that. 3.5.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's a good segue because Cal Athletics announced on June 24th that all outdoor fall sports, right, will be at full capacity this fall. Yeah. I mean, this is like what, like about a month ago, or a little less than a month ago.
Dude, for those that don't know, that it's actually how Rob cheers.
Oh my gosh.
If you ever go to a game, it's not that dissimilar from.
It's not that high pitched. I'm just like giggling in laughter like throughout the thing, or if like I'm like hands in my face, just like in utter disarray.
Dude, the Garbers touchdown, Stanford, I think it was just as high pitched as you just did it.
Yeah, if not higher and louder.
Yeah.
If not, oh my god.
If not, yeah, that was pretty. That was pretty.
I mean, the
pretty
exact
nuts.
opposite version of that is you and me at the Cheez-It Bowl. Like it's just utter silence, hands in the face, just shaking our head, like just no sounds.
Was that another interception? Yeah.
Do we even need to look at the replay? Like it's this the way this game's going. That's clearly in. But we're almost there against Nevada, September 4th, with a full Memorial Stadium as of now. Jim Knowlton said in the press release, "We are excited to be able to welcome our fans back to Memorial and to all of our outdoor venues this fall. We know how much our fans have missed the experience of attending our games in person, which we can see through a 95% renewal rate for football season tickets and a high demand for new tickets. We are looking forward to an exciting season here in Berkeley, and as we have done since the start of the pandemic, we will follow all state and local health protocols to ensure a safe environment for all those who come out to our games." And Cal Athletics also announcing today that game tickets, all home game tickets, are available for sale. So you can go buy your tickets right now as you're listening to this. Get hype. We're
Hyped.
there.
We made it.
We made it.
It's been a long
Year and a half?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
just about. Yeah.
I mean, I think the real thing too, and I feel like I've been talking about this a lot lately, but if you're paying attention to the trends, it's not great.
Yeah.
Things aren't great.
No.
I think the important thing that you said is for now, because if there are 135,000 COVID cases in the U.S. last week.
Yeah. That Delta variant isn't helping, and people not getting vaccinated isn't helping.
So, we'll see. I'm optimistic that there'll be something, particularly for vaccinated people, but to what degree and if there's a mask requirement, wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised either.
But still better than last year. Nothing could be as bad as last year.
4 games last year. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, that is a good transition into what happened last year. All right, so our first story of this weird pandemic year, of course, is the ASU news that Andy and I we were like debating whether like what George Reister's tweet like a few days before this news actually happened, like what it was talking about, and that's on our former podcast. You can go listen to that and what our predictions were. I don't think any of us expected it to be this, but Herm Edwards, the current head coach of ASU and the ASU program, is under investigation by the NCAA for recruiting violations during the pandemic. So I wrote the article on June 17th for Rifle, California. It says ASU is being investigated for allegedly committing multiple recruiting violations and infractions during the extended dead period due to COVID-19. According to Pete Thamel of Yahoo Sports and The Athletic, the investigation already holds documentation that includes specific evidence of multiple examples of high school prospects taking illicit on-campus recruiting trips to Arizona State's campus. Those came during the pandemic-inspired dead period that ended June 1st. For more than a year prior, the NCAA rules explicitly banned players from visiting on campus because of COVID-19. The dossier, according to sources, lays out pieces of both the players' trips to campus and how those trips were paid for. It was originally broken, of course, as I said, by Pete Thamel of Yahoo Sports, and then Doug Haller and Bruce Feldman of The Athletic did like a secondary piece to it. So just to read you a little bit more news tidbit on it is in the dossier, it includes screenshots, receipts, pictures, and emails related to numerous potential violations within the Arizona State football program. The NCAA enforcement staff is in possession of these documents, and among the enforcement staff members working on the case, is Vic Donardi, and he declined to comment, but he did like say that they did have those documents in hand. Arizona State's compliance chief Steve Webb said that ASU officials are conducting internal interviews as well, and the NCAA has declined to comment so far. And then here's the meat part. Sources said that members of the football program deliberately, blatantly, and consistently broke rules related to hosting players during the dead period, including Coach Herm Edwards meeting with recruits. A source added that the evidence included pictures of the visit, including Edwards with a recruit who ended up enrolling at ASU. Quote, "It's clear whoever provided it had a ton of access and knowledge of the football program," end quote. A source told Yahoo Sports, quote again, from that same source, "The stuff in there wouldn't be provided by anyone else outside the football program." Investigations are still currently ongoing. And in real life, it is still currently ongoing. All right. So, your thoughts when all this happened, like, in this story?
My first actual reaction to this was that it made me feel a hell of a lot better about losing Jaden Daniels. And then you start to read into it and you're like, there's so much here.
Yeah.
From a workplace culture standpoint, where you have Antonio Pierce, who apparently had way too much control with way too little checks on that control, or power is another good word for that. And then to the lauded Arizona State model of CEO and the revamped way that they've done it, to just, I mean, think, right, there was an actual discourse on Twitter that were people like, are they going to get the death penalty? Which was like, no, because I don't think the death penalty exists in 2021 anymore. These programs are far too big than what they used to be back in the day and age where SMU actually got it. But yeah, I mean, my initial reaction was like, one, what you just said about an internal staffer taking all of that, someone was looking out. I don't necessarily think they might have looked at this and said, I'm going to get them. I actually think they were probably just looking out for number one. And I would do that too, because if I was in a position where I was watching all of these illegal things happen and I had no say, I'd already said it, and they were like, stop talking. Fine. I'll stop talking. I wouldn't work there, but so be it. If I'm going to be this person, I'm going to stay there. Fine. Start taking pictures. Start collecting the things so that when inevitably this comes crashing down, I can say, yeah, not me, not associated with it. I was the one, I saw it going on. I made clear it was known. I wanted nothing to do with it, but it, was in the middle of the pandemic. Didn't feel like the right time for me to quit my job. What about you, Rob? What was your reaction?
My reaction was, like, could you be any stupider? Like, could you, honestly, so my thought process came to, like, full circle when I read that quote. Which article was it? There was one article that quoted another Power 5 conference head coach that said, and it was something along, it's not word for word, but it was something along the lines of, like, they have to do something quick because I'm pissed. And I think the reason that person is pissed is because COVID-19 wasn't just like a rule, right? It was like a health issue for all of these teams and all these kids and all these people. Every single Power 5 school abided by that rule, right? Because it's not only just from the NCAA, it's like from their state, from the university standpoint, like, liability, all that stuff. And so I think most Power 5 schools, maybe there's some other stories that come up with other schools that didn't abide by the COVID violations, but when this type of, like, thing was put out to all the coaches and those programs, they kind of, like, all agreed as, like, a unit, right, of, like, coaches and programs, like, yeah, we're not gonna do this for the time being. Like, this isn't like a recruiting violation where, like, I decided to give him, like, $100. Like, this is like, we're all to give no one a competitive advantage during this during the pandemic. We're all gonna not do this, right?
It's a fundamental values
Yeah, it's a fundamental values issue, and
that they legit were just like, nope.
Yeah, they were
We're
just
gonna
like,
pass.
They're like, oh, if we do this, no one's gonna find out. And it's
So
like, if you look at the evidence in like some of these stories that they showed, apparently there's a photo of Herm Edwards and a recruit, right? And it's taken from behind Herm Edwards. So sure, maybe you could have said like plausible deniability and be like, that's not me, but or like that is me, but like that could have been at any point in time. Like it could have been not during the pandemic, right? Except the only issue with that photo is that apparently in the corner, because it's in the weight room, there's a TV on and it's showing a women's NCAA March Madness game, and it shows like the score and the time, so you can exactly pinpoint which day it was. Like, it's, oh my goodness, like the stupidity, of trying to do this, and I think if I'm an ASU fan, I might be pissed because honestly, this didn't pay out for them. It's not like they got like a high crop tier of recruits coming in because of like all of these little visits and stuff, right?
I mean, yes, you can be pissed for that reason.
I mean, I think I'd be like, you can kind of weigh it like just. I mean, I wouldn't. If Cal decided to do this, I think we're done. Like we're like, everyone we need a full reset. But
yeah.
I think if you could kind of like tell yourself, if you're like a program that values the sport more than the program itself, then you can kind of convince yourself, you're like, all right, well, we did those recruiting violations, but it turned out to be like 4 or 5-star recruits. Like you can convince yourself of that. Like
the evidence would just be
like,
so obvious.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, they landed 4 or 5-star recruits this year. I think that, this story is one, it's very interesting to kind of see it come and be so prominent in the sports world, and now it's kind of gone away. I don't think it's going away for both the NCAA, and I don't think it's going away for ASU, but it will be interesting to see like how it comes back. Things like this tend to get swept under the rug with the NCAA. I mean, Arizona, it was so obvious that Arizona was paying players. They were paying high school recruits, and they were doing it through sponsors like Adidas. And did anything happen to Arizona as a program? No. It just happened to the individual that was doing it. They somehow separated the fault away from the university, pretended that the university was fine, and am I remember that correctly?
Well,
maybe I'm painting it.
Well, they self-imposed a postseason ban, so
okay,
they didn't play in the Pac-12 tournament, nor were they eligible to play in March Madness this year.
A self-imposed postseason ban feels like a pretty good, pretty good punishment. It's like, damn, I messed up. All right, you know what, Rob? I'm gonna punish myself by only taking 1 Hawaiian vacation this year instead of 2. All right, you're like, oh, that seems like good job, Andy. Way to really take responsibility there and sacrifice something that means a lot to you.
I think you and I both agree that this was way too stupid and way too loose. Like, you don't do something that you know is blatantly illegal like this loosely. Like, they were like flying in recruits, like they were putting them in vans and like driving around campus. Like, there's also one of the stories says like Jaden Daniels' mom was part of it, like paying recruits. Like, she kind of like sent them money so that they can buy the plane tickets to like fly, but that was like given by the football program, like, or one of the coaches. And there's just like so many things that are like little details that are now like coming to light that it's like, oh god, like this is a lot deeper and a lot more like interweaved with a lot of people. It wasn't just like a one-off coach, that was convinced by like a parent to pay them off to get the kid to go to their school. Like, this is like an intricate web of systems that like, like Herm Edwards like can't just say like I had no idea this was going on because of how deep it went. Like
Herm might get out of this with his job, maybe.
Well, if they
I don't think
scapegoat
there's-
Antonio Pierce, Antonio Pierce, like Antonio Pierce is gone. But there's so many violations at this point where it's like,
Right.
shouldn't you know? Like if it's like a one-off thing, I'm like, all right, yeah, fine. Maybe you really didn't know.
I mean, Herm's in the picture.
Yeah.
We know Herm knew.
Yeah.
We know he knew. I think maybe if they just say, Herm Edwards, I was CEO. I gave too much power to Antonio Pierce. He ran wild. I thought it was cool, or I thought we had approved it with NC. I don't know. Who knows how you're going to shift that
how you
lane.
gonna spin it?
Yeah. But I think that maybe they get... But and let me just say this. If both of them keep their jobs and Arizona State's allowed to play with postseason eligibility this season, I mean, this whole thing's a joke.
Yeah.
We already know this whole thing's a joke with NCAA, but
This
that would
solidifies
just
it.
be-
This solidifies it.
that would be the cherry on top
Yeah.
of like a 5-layer cream cake.
I mean, we're going to talk about the NIL stuff later, which in turn, like, we have a lot to say about the NCAA and the NIL stuff, but it's kind of like that, right? Where it's like, hey, you guys figured this out like that quickly. Like, you knew this was possible. You guys just didn't decide to do it for the longest time. And that's kind of the same thing with the ASU stuff. It's like, you guys could easily just like, just not let them participate in a bowl game just because of the sheer amount of evidence that's already against the program. Like, it doesn't matter whose fault it is. At least you have to somehow punish the program first. And so, yeah, I mean, hopefully this goes by, that they figure this out quickly.
And I think what you lose by not doing that is narrative.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I've seen that Arizona State has been able to actually do, which is shocking because of what you just said, that there's so much evidence and so much has been said. I mean, the Mel article on its own was enough to take down that program.
Yep.
And yet, what Arizona State has been able to do, their AD came out. It's like, we need to just focus on what's important, what's in front of us. And then they've been able to do that. And now it sort of feels, is the NCAA just the bad guy that's interrupting good old ASU? Like, that's the narrative that I think you lose without... It's very similar to how slow the response was with the Dodgers and Trevor Bauer.
Yeah.
And while they got to the right place, they got there too late. And so it's like the NCAA, I think it's the same thing. If you come out and you say, all right, given the accusations with the evidence we have received, there is a temporary ban on the Arizona State program for the postseason for 2021. Until we do our investigation, this is what's happening. Now, side effect impact of that could be that Arizona State loses a bunch of transfers, but the evidence is, or loses a bunch of players to transfer, but the evidence is already there. And that's the difference. It's like, I understand if it's just like an accusation that's out there where you might not have it, but since you have pictures of people.
Yeah, you
with
have an entire
timestamps,
dossier of pictures and emails and messages.
just come out. Just be like, no, they're done for this year. So if you're at Arizona State, we'll give you free transfer. But these guys messed up. So they're done. And, NCAA, I don't know. Who knows what happens at the NCAA at this point? It's just like...
What happens in those meetings? I would love to know.
You ever seen that South Park episode about the pandemic? Or sorry, not the pandemic. The
Haven't they done
economy
so many of those?
the collapse of the economy.
I haven't seen that one.
Stan goes to return his Margaritaville dispenser and goes back and finally goes to Congress and or the Supreme Court or something, and they're like, all right, what should we do? And they have a board, and what they do is they take a chicken and they cut off its head and put the chicken and have it run around on the board, and wherever it dies, that's what they do. And they're like, all right, another bailout. That's what I feel like the NCAA does.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, enough talk of that. Let's I mean, I guess not enough talk of that. It's a better transition as we're going into recruiting. Since we're talking about recruiting, but we're talking about good, fun recruiting for Cal. Because we missed out on a ton of commitments. And I'm not actually sure how many of these we might have covered and how many of these we haven't. But I know for a fact that like 5 of these we did not cover. So the first one is of a commitment from JUCO defensive lineman Darius Long from the College of San Mateo. He got his offer from the Cal staff on June 14th. And then he committed on June 16th. Incredible.
Yeah. It was awesome. And at a total position of need.
Yeah.
And that's what I noticed with this class is we are definitely going D-line.
Yeah, and this was also because of like the Brett Johnson season-ending injury, right? Like we needed like an immediate impact, like a transfer defensive lineman to fill some of that rotation and depth issues that we were going to have. And they did it with a defensive line transfer. And so he'll be able to play. And then on top of that, on June 18th, defensive lineman Curly Thomas IV commits to the Bears. He was arguably Cal's number 1 defensive line target. And they got him after he visited Berkeley with Cal commits Jackson Moy and Nate Burrell. And you can see like Jackson Moy and Nate Burrell like tweeting after he had committed, after those two have committed, and they're like, you know what the next move is, bro. And they were like tweeting at him constantly. One of the funniest parts about his commitment is that this dude committed as he was leaving Oklahoma State from an official visit. He went to Oklahoma State, and he tweeted a tweet on June 18th that said, "Thanks to Cowboys football coach Gundy for a great time. I'm still full from yesterday." And that's he posted that a mere 2 hours before he posted his commitment to Cal video, which I think is awesome. He is a force to be reckoned with, and it's, dude, imagine like next year, right? Or not even next year, but like in a couple of years, like our D-line rotation of Kelly Calhoun, Derek Wilkins, Curly Thomas, Jackson Moy, Nate Burrell, and like whoever else we decide to pick up along the way. I didn't even talk about Demonic Williams too. Like, oh my goodness. Like we are going to straight up destroy some offensive lines.
Yeah. DE, DT, DT,
Yeah.
DE. Like,
Yeah.
It's crazy. We're growing so heavy on the D line.
Yep.
It's about damn time.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we've been calling that for years.
Yeah.
So that is really what we need. And yeah, with Brett Johnson being out, Luke Beckett coming back, which I'm not totally positive that we talked about.
We haven't talked about that either, but we can get to that in a little bit.
Oh, sorry. Spoiler
Spoiler
there
alert.
we go.
I just want to get through all the recruiting like commitments first, and then we can talk about like how the roster is shaping up. But offensive line, Sio Ape Vakitani committed on June 23rd after visiting Cal 2 weeks prior to that. And he's going to be the future guard for a running back that actually committed right before him in Caleb Johnson. Caleb Johnson is from Hamilton, Ohio, 3-star running back. This is SG Bear, our best recruiting analysis guy on Right for California. Caleb Johnson is a bigger back at 6'1", 215. Hamilton, a north suburb of Cincinnati. He self-declares a 4'4", 40 on his Huddle page. He's like a big back. He's the guy that's going to get you like the couple of inches that you need on like 4th and short. But like he's a dude. He took unofficial visits to Michigan, Ohio State, took an official to Iowa State, visited Iowa, but he ended up committing to Cal under Aristotle Thompson. After that, the big one, the big one, another running back, 4-star Jaden Ott. I was super surprised that we pulled him. But the 4-star running back out of Bishop Gorman, he joins Caleb Johnson as the second running back in the class. He's a former Oregon commit who was prior a 5-star running back. He holds offers from half of the Pac-12, ASU, Colorado, Oregon, Oregon State, UCLA, Utah, Washington State, as well as big-time Power 5 programs like Georgia, Nebraska, and Purdue. His offer list straight ridiculous. And so, yeah, Jaden Ott played his freshman year at Norco, where he racked up 1,096 rushing yards and 13 TDs over 12 games as a running back as a freshman in high school. It's insane. He had 3 Pac-12 offers coming off of his freshman year, and he committed to Oregon before the summer began. And then he kind of took a step back a little bit. But then if you go to the Wire for California website, you look up Jaden Ott, you can see SG Bear's entire analysis. I don't want to read through all of it because it is very, very deep, and it like basically dissects his entire sophomore year highlight, because a lot of these kids don't have junior year highlights because either the season was delayed or games weren't recorded and so on. So there's not a lot, but he is fast. He is fast. He has an outdoor track 100-meter time that's around 11.4 seconds.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's pretty fast.
Not quite Javid best, but
yeah, not quite Javid, but yeah. Some of the other guys that around Cal's team right now means that if that's 11.4 or 11.34, which is his personal record for 100-meter holds, he's slightly faster than Chris Street, Marcel Dancy, and Ashton Shredick. About the same speed as DeCarlos Brooks, but is a little bit slower than guys like Monroe Young. That's kind of the pecking order where you would put it. So, big time. Big time recruiting over the last month or so, with guys coming off the final, the 3 weeks or 4 weeks of official visits, and all these guys just saying, you know what? Cal is the place I want to be.
Yeah, I think that what's really interesting too, looking back in the last month, I'm just going to read out some of these dates. 6/7/21, 6/18/21, 6/20/21, 6/8/21, 6/23/21, 6/14/21. I'm old enough, obviously kidding, to remember the Sonny Dykes era when we would have these official visits and I swear no one would commit.
Yeah, it's quiet.
And we'd walk out with 3 commits right now. We have 9.
Yep.
And yeah, something's changed.
Something's definitely.
We said that earlier. Something's changed.
I don't know what they're feeding the kids there, but it's whatever it is, it's working. I mean, if you've seen the photos, there's they did a crawfish boil, which looked stellar and delicious. Who knows what else they're going to cook for them?
What would be the one meal that if you had it, you'd be like, all right, I'm in. Has to be from the Bay Area.
I don't know. What one meal would you serve someone to convince them that the Bay Area is the place to be, food wise? I don't know what that is. Do you have a spot? What would you serve them?
Well, it's interesting because if I said my 33-year-old self, I'd sit myself in front of some omakase.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, damn, this is amazing. Yeah. Especially if you were from Nevada or
some landlocked
Ohio.
State.
Yeah. You're like, whoa. I do like the idea of Dungeness crab type, something like unlimited Dungeness crab. Yeah. It would be. I also think our clam chowder holds up pretty good.
It does.
But I guess if you were going to say one meal that I think would appeal to a high schooler.
Yeah. I think you got to go meats, right? You got to go
Ooh. No, I was going cheese board.
Oh, you're going to go cheese board. See,
cheese board Saturday cheese board. Undefeated.
It could be hit or miss though, with kids 18. Sourdough pizza, if I'm thinking back on it, a 17-year-old me would not have liked sourdough pizza. But a 21-year-old me would have loved sourdough. Sourdough pizza.
I know. I almost said square pie guys, but then I was like,
that's Detroit style. You can get it better if you go to Michigan.
I know. That's why I was like, I can't say that because, we're copying.
Yeah, I don't know.
Damn.
I'm just as lost as you in terms of what it could possibly be. But all we know is that they're feeding them well when they're visiting. And they're showing them the best spots. So
if you asked you or me
why the recruits are biting. We're like, food.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's got to be the food.
Nothing to do
Probably
with
has-
the football. Nothing to do with like how they fit into our system. Merely the food. And that is
Like,
it.
yep.
Nothing else.
Done. Just put them in front of a bowl of Marufuku ramen and you're good to go.
Oh, jeez.
Lock them up.
Lock them up. Give them that marugame udon. That's what it is. Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, that's all the recruiting stuff. I think the big meat of what we're going to talk about today is this next part, which is, I mean, honestly, any of these kids could come in, and if they like all the food, they can ask to be sponsored by them now, because name, image, likeness is now available for all college athletes to use to their advantage, which is insane.
Yeah.
Did you ever think we would get here? Like, I thought it was a pipe dream, honestly. And then it basically happened over a single week, right?
After the Supreme Court ruling kind of
Yeah, when Judge
was
Judge Kavanaugh went ham on that in that one statement, and then also like the NCAA basically saw all these states putting out their laws, and we're like, crap, like we need to get ahead of this. So then they put out like these temporary like NIL laws for this year for anyone who's an NCAA athlete. And everyone who's watching is, as I said earlier, you had the power to do this and you knew exactly how to do it, but you did not do it. Like this is all on you. Like this massive like just excuse the profanity, but this entire clusterfuck of like trying to figure out like how NIL was going to work. You didn't need to. It was you could have just done it like they did. And it's done. It's over. Before like we go on to our takes. The first thing was Cal Athletics actually tweeted out when this went live was that NIL is here. This is July 1st. NIL is here. Cal launches Golden program to support student athletes. And so what the Golden program does, it's linked with the Cameron Institute, Berkeley or Haas, the School of Business, and in Flickr. I have no idea what that is. Or influencer? Maybe it's influencer. Maybe that's what it's supposed to say. #influencer. I guess it's a company. But it's name, image, likeness, values, and opportunities. And what it does is that it provides leadership and personal development. And also, like, there's going to be NIL speakers by Berkeley professors, industry leaders, professional athletes, NIL fundamentals, selecting an agent, value-based brand building, business principles. They're also going to give you post-bac certificates on entrepreneurship and business administration. It talks about a partnership with the nation's leading student-athlete brand-building software, which is, I guess, what this is, #influencer. It connects with verified partners such as Cameo, Influential Open Sponsorship, Koji, Team Altimus. I have no idea what that is. Storyteller Playbook, Insider Guide to Brand Strategies and Best Practices. And so they're offering this to all of their student athletes. And honestly speaking, I thought it was like just some, like, we're trying to get ahead of the NIL stuff. But when you read the press release on it and like what they're planning to do with this, I was like, wow, they this was in the works. Like they kind of saw that this was going to happen. I guess they kind of had to know because the state of California had those NIL laws that were supposed to go into effect in 2022, I believe. This just came a lot sooner. But this is really cool that they have this resource built out so that like none of their student athletes gets taken advantage of, and that they can build out like their own brand using themselves. And so, I mean, here's what AD Jim Knowlton said. We're excited to launch our NIL program, Golden. The University of California, Berkeley has always been an amazing place for young men and women to build their brand and launch their careers. With the new NIL legislation in place, Golden will help provide additional tools for Cal student athletes to capitalize on their value in the marketplace in a distinct Cal way that builds on their achievements on the playing field, in the classroom, and in the community.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
You've had Wendy's nugs dipped in sauce, but have you had them covered in sauce? Wendy's new saucy nugs take the crispy and spicy nugs you love and turn them up to 11. Choose between flavors like buffalo or honey barbecue, garlic parm, or if you're a real heat seeker out there, you can try spicy ghost pepper, only on Wendy's signature spicy nugs. Listen, I'm going to dare you to do it. I dare you. That's 7 delicious ways to try the nugs that you already love. Pick a flavor, grab some extra napkins, and then grab a few more napkins and prepare to nug like you've never nugged before. For a whole new way to nug, it's got to be Wendy's at participating U.S. Wendy's.
It's awesome. It's super cool to see. To create the Golden Program, Cal Athletics assembled an NIL working group to consider how best to support student athletes, to monitor the landscape and explore options prior to the implementation of the new legislation. The committee included athletic department staff, current and former student athletes, coaches, and faculty members. I believe Elijah Hicks was a part of that group. And he is. And he has a quote here that says, "I've been fortunate to represent Cal student athletes on the NIL working group to help implement NIL at Cal. The group developed the Golden Program to help student athletes maximize what they can make using their name, image, and likeness. NIL will allow me to expand my brand by partnering with companies that have similar values as mine, such as intercepting poverty for struggling college students." I thought it was awesome. Like that we basically launched the school, the athletics program. Like, I'm proud to be associated with it just because of how they approached it and was like, we know it's happening, so here's all these resources for you so that you're starting off on your best foot. It's not like we're just going to throw you into uncharted territory by yourself.
Yeah, this is a great call out. I think it's absolutely. Yeah, and that program has always been very good. Mm-hmm. The athletic performance, or God, what is it called? I can't remember the exact name, but they've always done a really good job. And I'm not surprised, but it's also, I think it's a really good call out in the sense that this thing just sort of happened.
Yeah, like overnight.
And it happened so fast. And yeah, I mean, I guess we can get into the NCAA side of it, where they were just like, well, you guys figure it out. It was like, they were just like, oh, yeah. All right, we have 1 week, and it's a full go. So you just figure it out for your own state. And you have all these people like, what? We have a week to figure this out? Yep. That's the NCAA, folks. 1 week is like 1 year. One and the same. But I did have a very cool idea, and I can't decide if I want to bring it up here.
Well, let's talk about our first guy who out of the Cal athletes, like the first one that I saw that signed a brand immediately when July 1st hit, which was QB1 Chase Garbers, right? Yeah. On July 1st, at 5:13 p.m., he tweets out, partnered with Orgain Clean Products. Orgain Clean Protein, a better tasting, healthier protein meant for everyone. Use this code GARBERS30 at checkout, or click the link to go check it out and get the best clean nutrition out there. Sick. Oh, it's so awesome. It's so awesome to see these guys. It's gonna be so cool. Like, and you see all those like all those athletes starting to sign with agencies, just so that they can get some guidance. Like I know a lot of not a lot, but there were a few Cal players that signed with Barstool athletes. So there's a bunch of them. And so, yeah, that's where we're at now. We're going to start to see this develop even more and more as the season progresses and, like, heading into the season, right? We're going to see guys sign these deals. We still have yet to see, like, any guys sign with, like, Berkeley or Bay Area things. You know? We still haven't seen a top dog sign.
That's what I'm saying. What better opportunity do we have as the California Golden Bearcast to get in there and sign someone?
What? Okay, let's think this through. What would you sign them for, and which player would you sign to do that? What are we doing? What is? What are we providing, or like what are we signing them to?
I want to sign Coin Dang to do the intro of this podcast. I'm 100% positive we're gonna make it happen. So this is just like teasing this out.
Oh my god.
So I want to offer an undisclosed amount of money to have him do. So we'll have our awesome. I love our, beginning music, and then Coin come in and say, "Welcome to the Bearcast with your hosts Rob and Andy. Go Bears!"
Every episode is Coin Dang.
Everyone,
I'm down with it. Let's make it. We got to figure out how to make this happen, but. As you said, like the NCAA was just like, hey, go figure it out. So like right now I'm going through this process of, all right, so let's say we decided we wanted to do it, right? And I guess this is good for the listeners because they can kind of figure out how this system works as we're trying to figure it out as well. Who do we talk to first? Do we talk to the athletics program? Or do we talk to Coin?
I was going to go straight to Coin.
Okay, we go straight to Coin and we ask him.
And I was going to decide, I couldn't decide if we should do it on Cameo and make it just do a Cameo request. Because then Cameo would cover the contractual side.
Yeah. The only issue. All right. So here's like my legalistic side that's coming out regarding this stuff. It's like this isn't a one-off Cameo, right?
I know. That's my one thing.
Yeah. So he would have to be okay with a one-time fee for us to use his voice for the foreseeable future.
So maybe. I don't know.
What we do, I got a better idea. Or what we do is we sign him to a 1-year deal. So we get to use his voice as the intro for 1 whole year. Basically the 2021 to 2022 like academic athletic season. We get to use Coin's voice.
Dude. Okay, let's shoot for the stars. I'm shooting for the lifetime contract.
Oh my god. Oh my god. All right. Well, Andy is going to work out the contractual obligations between us and Coin.
I will do that right now.
But in the meantime, like, how do you see this progressing? Like, do you think at some point we're going to start? The NCAA is just basically, as you said, just told everyone to figure it out. But are we going to start to see some like restrictions? Do you think some programs will start to use this to their advantage? Like teams like Florida have already come out and said if you're a booster for the program, you actually can't sponsor or like, use the NIL for like current players.
Oh no!
So
that might have just foiled our plans.
That's just for Florida, but what do you think? Like, where is this leading to? Are we leading to like monetary restrictions? Like you can make this max amount a year? Like how are they going to kind of balance it out across the country?
Dude, I can't message Coin Dang. This is all for naught. All right. I'm booking a Cameo request.
Oh my god.
You've lost me, dude. I totally lost my my focus. Okay. I don't know. It's just gonna be really interesting to see how this all plays out because, like, for me, the way I look at it is like, if we had, if you look at our logo, I'm just gonna still use the podcast as an example because it's a good one. If you had, let's say, our logo and created a bottle, and we're like, bring this to every press conference. Coin. We'll pay you. Bring this to every press conference. We're the exclusive hydration partner of Coin Dang.
We're the hydration partner that only provides him a water bottle. Like, we don't provide him the actual hydration. We're the official hydration medium, or the hydration device of Coin Dang. We don't provide the hydration itself. It's just the hydration machine.
It's kind of perfect. It's kind of perfect.
Yeah, I don't. So that's what I don't know. That's what I was saying is it's such a gray area, right? It's like we don't know what's allowed and what's not allowed. I mean, what we do know is Nike can't come out and say we're sponsoring Coin Dang. They can't do that because it's an Under Armour school, so he has to wear the Under Armour stuff. They can't just do that, but. So I'm wondering how this is all gonna play out long term.
Okay.
I
have no idea.
If you're planning it out, if you're the NCAA, do you put any rules and restrictions on this, or do you just kind of just let it run its course and figure it out as it happens?
I'm tagging you in this post.
Oh my God.
If that's okay. Feel free to read that one if you want to read it out loud. That was pretty good.
Let me find it. But yes, go ahead. Oh my God. He tweeted at Coin saying, "Yo man, let me know if we can connect on a business related item. Go Bears, Andy and Rob." Oh my God.
This is.
I'm
I hope everyone's enjoying this.
I'm also kind of I don't know how to say this, but basically we're coming at this so abruptly. We don't even have a business plan or a budget of how much we're going to spend. We're going into this blindly.
It's all up here. It's all up here.
All right, we'll talk. We'll talk after we're done recording. But as I said, the previous question. So if you're the NCAA, what do? Are you just going to let it run its thing, or are you going to kind of make rules as you see this expand?
You would think it could not be the wild, wild west that it is right now. But Chase's tweet, it's who's ever heard of this clean protein that he was sponsored by? Orgain? Yeah. What? Also, shout out to them. They got a lot of airtime in our podcast today. It was a big win for them. So it's already working for them. But is how do you control it? I think is something that's going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah, before it spirals out of control, right?
Right, because it's going to explode the second that the season starts, and you have the next Trevor Lawrence. You start to see the emergence of these athletes that you're like, let's do Cal again, right? Let's say Garbers explodes onto the scene this year, and all of a sudden it's going to be mayhem with people that are going to try, especially I would say Bay Area companies. So what's going to be I just don't know what the rules and regulations are. It's can I as a restaurant owner be Jupiter, Chase Garber's favorite place to go get a post-game drink and pizza. Sliver, Chase Garber's favorite delivery item. It's am I able to do that? Or I don't know. I have no idea. But I am very excited. This will mean, right? Yeah. Jerseys, names on the back of jerseys.
Yeah.
Has to.
Yeah.
That is going to be amazing.
Well, that's the question mark I have regarding that is how does payment happen then? Are they just going to pay for in each individual player, or is it a bulk fee they pay to the university and they just send it out to all of the players on a set amount, right? They just buy the players' names in bulk. I don't know how that's going to happen, but it's possible. It's very much possible. I mean, So here's the big thing, right? It's like Derek King, right? Who's the quarterback for Miami, the Houston transfer, I believe. He as soon as the NIL opened, his older brother, his 25-year-old older brother, is his manager, and he said his phone. This is in an article from Sports Illustrated. His phone is ringing nonstop. He's trying to take the deals that fit him best. King has been as active as any college athlete on day one of the NIL era. He signed deals with 3 businesses, as well as Dreamfield, the digital marketplace that he helped create and is now part owner of. He signed with College Hunks Hauling Junk Moving Company, Murphy Auto Group, and The Wharf, the open air bar and the event space that he and his teammates frequent on off-season Friday nights.
Boom. There you go. Every single question I just asked was answered.
And then this. The deals should net him more than $20,000, he said. He received an immediate 5-figure signing bonus from College Hunks. He's also started selling his own branded line of clothing. King says he has no immediate plans for the money. Save it, he quips. He's cheap, laughs his brother. There's plenty more on the way, too.
Good.
In fact, King says he's heard from representatives of at least 50 brands across the country, all attempting to crash into this new space where suddenly more than 400,000 NCAA athletes are available.
Yeah, it's the wild, wild west.
It's insane.
It really is.
It's pure insanity. All right, so let me ask you this: if Derek King's able to get $20,000 in 3 deals, right? Which Cal athlete over the last 10 years do you think would make that or more than that? Like
Marshawn.
Marshawn, yeah.
Deshaun Jackson was one of the first people I thought of.
Deshaun Jackson probably. He was definitely more like nationwide than Marshawn was.
Yeah. True. And obviously you go Rodgers or Goff. Goff would have been a good one because he had a lot of hype that last season that he was going to be the number 1 overall pick. Goff has always kind of had that like Peyton Manning type vibe to him. Like a little bit like kind of castable.
Yeah.
I don't ever get to see those commercials because they're probably all down in LA.
Yeah, he's a funny dude. Well, now in Detroit, right?
Yeah. Square Pie guys, go get him. Go get your boy. Yeah, I mean, you just go big names. Cam Jordan. I think that Cam was bigger he was a big name because he played all 4 years, and he was an impact player all 4 years. I do feel like he would have been a good one locally. Dude, if Cheese and Stuff, which has every single collegiate athlete up on the wall, if they're still in business, I think they are. I would be shocked if they didn't sponsor at least like 100 people.
That's a lot of money to be paying out, though.
Oh, no. Free sandwiches for life, bro. I don't pay you anything. Just come in and grab a free sandwich anytime you want.
Gosh.
Dude, don't get me started. I got ideas left and right, Rob. I will expand.
That's what
I'm going to open up a consulting business.
That's why this free market
for all
this free market is like insane, because there's no like there's no relative like looking back at like that's the deal, like increased by inflation, like this is what it should be like market wise. Like, are we overpaying? Are we underpaying? Like, is this at market value? We have no idea whatsoever.
Free sandwiches for life. Come on down to Cheese and Stuff. $3.25. I doubt it's still that price, but it was one time.
It was back in the mid 2000s.
It was. But yeah, I mean, there has to be some regulation around it in the way that the deal is struck. So it would be helpful for us to go on this journey to see if we could get conceivably a Cal player to do the intro to the podcast. Obviously shooting for Coin Dang number 1, and we'll see how that goes. If there's a process, we have to go through an agent, and then the agent then would send over a terms of agreement. Very similar to how talent is managed on the music side. So when we try to book a Goldfish for our wedding, we got in touch with the agent. The agent sent us over the contract and then gave us amount. You know, that is kind of what I would guess it would be. And then it just gets crazy if you have players self-represent.
Yeah.
From the legal side. But you're also just going to have this opportunity where businesses, if you're smart, man, we went through kind of like the collegiate players that were the obvious ones. Imagine the non-obvious ones, like Patrick Laird or Kenny Lawler, right? Kenny Lawler is such a fan favorite. If we had sponsored Kenny Lawler for 4 years, I think it would have done really well for our brand. But, and so it becomes almost like a hyper localized execution that will be like super interesting to see how brands kind of decide to play into that, because you could have a national brand like a Cliff Bar that has, they have outdoor athletes. Yeah. So let's use Cliff as an example. And then they have a team that goes out and sponsors those athletes and then does event activation pop-ups. So it could be like, once again, California Golden Bearcast throws a pre-season Top Dog barbecue at X location, and Coin Dang's there as our representative of the podcast. Oh man, the possibilities are truly endless, and I do love it. I do love it.
My goodness, you're diving down into like this path of like, what could we do? Like, how could we get players involved with the podcast and like at the same time, like help them monetize, which I think is great.
Yeah,
I love the system. It's just they do have to figure out some like rules, not only to protect like just the sport as a whole and like the group of individuals, but like just to make sure no one's taking advantage of. I think that's the thing for me, is like I just don't want any of these players like taking advantage of. Like they signed this contract because they're not signed with an agent and they don't know like how to look over the paperwork and they think it's all good. They sign it and it's like it's terrible conditions, right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing for me. It's like how do you manage that? How do you create that buffer so that they have to go through some of these like hoops to get to the player, just so that the players aren't taken advantage of from a monetary or from a talent standpoint. They can be like, hey, we'll give you like $2,000 up front, but it's like 4 years of like showing up to anything they asked you to show up to, right? Contractually, like it's stupid.
Yeah,
it's stupid.
So okay, where do you stand? And maybe to move this towards wrapping up a little bit, we've talked a lot about the impact for the here and now, but I also kind of want to hear your thoughts on the past. Where do you stand on the things that like are coming out with Terrell Pryor or Reggie Bush in regards to the past violations that they now would like waive?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think it's somewhat of a case by case basis, right? Because if it's something within the terms of like, yeah, I got paid by like this car dealership because I showed up and signed autographs one day, I think that's within like NIL and they should be fine with it. But if it's like a recruiting violation where it's like I got paid off by a coach, or like someone else paid me to attend USC or something of that sort, right? Or I got a car from a car dealership as like part of me going to SC. I think that's like recruiting violations, right? So that if that's the reason, then like you shouldn't be reinstated. But if it's like within the rules of like the NIL, then I think of course they should be reinstated. Does that make sense?
So you're saying effectively that in that case, just to name it a bit, Reggie Bush, no. And Terrell Pryor reinstated.
Yeah.
What did Clarett do? Maurice Clarett? Was it autographs too?
I think so. A lot of these guys, it's autographs.
Was that 03?
It's like minor, yeah. I mean, like Johnny Manziel had that thing too, right? Like where like signed some stuff at like a pawn shop. So it's like little things like that. I think those are fine. It's like from the get go, like that shouldn't have been too big of an issue if you just autographed a few things. It's not like it changed the course of the program or the course of the player, like picking a university from that. But That's where I'm at. What about you?
I think I align with you on that. That's smart. I just don't know. We just don't know so much. So what I think it could come out that I guess I don't know how it's going to work with recruiting.
Yeah.
So if it starts to come out where those type of things are somehow normalized and it's basically institutionalized what happened with Reggie Bush, but then it just becomes like part of the institution, then yeah, you have to let it go. You have to give him that stuff back, give him his Heisman back.
I mean, that's the.
And did SC sacrifice the title? I think they did.
I think they vacated the 03 or 5. Yeah. Or was 03 the Vince Young Rose Bowl? Was that 03?
What a disaster.
Yeah. I mean, I think the big.
What a disaster for the NCAA. Just this is it. I mean, that's the beauty of the NCAA.
I mean, so here's the thing, and here's the reason I think that this does need some sort of like regulation around it, because it creates somewhat of an unfair advantage. And some would say it's a fair advantage because of the location of the university, but I'd say it's an unfair advantage from a sports perspective, just because when you're out recruiting, right, like some random school out in the middle of nowhere, will they have the same financial, like, could you market it the same way, right? Like, NIL is available anywhere, but like Cal can come out and say, hey, look at all these deals with all these, like, you know, Silicon Valley companies or like companies in the Bay Area. This is our average payout for NIL contracts. This is what we can offer if you live in the Bay Area or like any metropolis city, right? LA, the Bay Area, New York, Chicago, Atlanta, like, you know, any of those big cities. But for the smaller cities, like off the top of my head, the first school that comes is Oregon State, like in Corvallis, not a big city at all. Like, can they compete even with like the Oregon that's in Eugene, or can they compete with Washington and Seattle? Can they compete with like Cal and Stanford in the Bay Area, or SC and LA down in Southern California, just from a financial standpoint? And does that already limit the recruits that they can go after, because these recruits are now saying, hey, I'm willing to move, or I'm willing to go there because I can get a little bit more money, like from my NIL deals, if I decide to pursue those.
Dude, not only like, let's take that example, and I want to just speak a little bit further on that. I think it's a disadvantage for Oregon and Oregon State, because if you were to compare the amount of just like wealth and simply put money that's in the Bay Area and the competition that exists in the Bay Area, that's going to go to the athletes. Much more so here than in Eugene. And so I think it actually is a huge gain for Cal. Because Eugene doesn't have any. I mean, Eugene doesn't have what. I mean, it's not. Yeah, it's not a big city. Oakland has from a tech scene. There's potentially going to be 0 sports teams, and if you get a consumer-based tech product that's headquartered out of Oakland, Pandora as an example. Obviously, they got acquired, but let's use Pandora as an example. Where do you think they're going to go if they wanted to go down the athlete route? What about 2 other, like, what about Cliff? Cliff's in Emeryville. That's huge. What about Premier Nutrition? Also in Emeryville. Even closer than where Cliff is by a couple blocks. And that's Power Bar. They own that brand. Founded by by Berkeley guys. Or I'm not actually sure if it's a man or a woman, so it could be
North Face.
I mean, there's major brands that also do athlete sponsorship that are in the Bay Area that just are not in Eugene, and they're not in Corvallis, and they're not, Washington State will struggle with that. I think, Washington, you have Seattle, so you'd be all right there. Dude, imagine if Microsoft was like, yeah, we want to get into the collegiate sponsorship side.
Amazon.
We just want to throw casual $500 million at the program and swoop up every single one of them. So I think there is a cap on how much they can earn, right? Isn't there some sort of cap, or was that what they were proposing before this?
I think they were proposing that before this was passed, but they don't have that number yet, because how do you propose a number that probably the majority of the country won't ever reach.
Yeah.
And the flip side of that argument is when we were talking about this to begin with a couple of years ago, it's like, all right, so maybe you set a minimum. Can you even guarantee some parts of the country can support that minimum? Like, that's the thing, right?
No.
So I do think that there's going to come up time in a few years where a lot of these coaches in smaller markets and like smaller areas of the country are going to be like, there needs to be some sort of regulation to balance this out a bit. Otherwise, even like a guy who would have started for us would rather go like, be a rotation player at some other university because they're able to make a couple thousand more like off the NIL deals. And I'm not guaranteeing that that's the finances that's the financial difference. Of course this is like arbitrary numbers. But, if you are a college student or if like, in the De'Aaron King article, right? He says here, let me read it real quick. Where is it? Oh, he says this is the article. It says most of his deals are built around endorsing the 3 companies on his social media accounts. He may eventually make appearances too, and hopes to involve his teammates. While King is comfortable financially, that's not the case for everyone in the locker room. Many of his teammates, in fact, send part of their monthly cost of attendance stipend to their families, some of whom are struggling with expenses. After rent, King usually has $500 to $700 remaining to live off of the rest of the month. His teammates, some of them send that home. Quote, I don't have to do that, but they do, King says. We're trying to find ways to help each other. He's going to look out for his lineman, adds Keyshawn, who's his brother. So that's the reality of like the situation for a lot of these athletes, right? And if you're an athlete who is struggling financially, like, would you take the extra, $500-$600 that you could potentially make? Like, wouldn't that entice you to go there? Like, if you had 2 universities on the piece of paper and they said their average NIL is like $1,600, and this other school is saying their average NIL is $800. You can be a starter at the 800, but you can be like a rotation guy at the 1,600. Like, you have to weigh out your decisions there. But that's the decisions, and I'm just considering, or my point of view would be, it would skew more towards, I don't know if I'll become a professional athlete, so I might as well take the money where it is, and I'm still getting a degree regardless, right? So
yeah.
So how do you start to balance out that power that gives the other universities a shot? Of course there are going to be players that value playing time and being a starter and trying to advance their athletic career more than the money they'll make off the field. But for some, like, that's just not the case.
Yep.
It's going to be very interesting the next 2-3 years figuring this stuff out. Hell, even after this year.
Yeah.
After this football season ends, like, just looking at the numbers and the financial numbers, it's going to be super, super fun to take a look through and see where the money was being pushed through.
Absolutely. Can't wait.
Mm-hmm. College junk removal. College junk removal.
I love that, dude.
I love it.
We're already in. I already know we're so good.
Oh my god.
Who wouldn't want to be sponsored?
Oh my
by
god.
the
Coin
California
Dang liked the
Golden
tweet.
Bearcats?
Oh my god. He liked the tweet. Oh
Let's
my
go.
god. Oh god. We don't even have a business plan, and Andy's like, all right. Anyways, I think that's it. Oh, here we go. All right. Well, before Andy does more crazy things on the air, we're gonna close out the show. We're gonna close out the podcast with our victory cannon. Andy, do you have something for the victory cannon for today?
Victory cannon. I know I woke up this morning with something, and now as I stand here today, I'm drawing a blank. But why not end it where we began? Good old Loki.
Superb.
Disney Plus series. WandaVision I thought was very good. I'll save my comments. Damn, I'm doing exactly what I said not to do, huh? 100% a hypocrite. Wow. Well, that's full circle. So back to Loki. If you haven't watched it yet, it's really entertaining. highly recommend.
It is.
And also, Black Widow, also highly recommend. I went to 2, not 1, but 2 movies in theaters, and it was a blast.
Surreal.
I saw Black Widow. I saw Fast 9.
Wow.
Fast 9 was the best comedy you'll see in at least a year.
You know that those movies now just play into their own memes, right? Like they already know like they're gonna be memed the hell out of. It's like it's somewhat of a joke, but they still do it because it rakes in money, and we still go watch it.
Yep. And I went in theaters, and they're happy. What about you?
There's a lot. Over the last couple of days, and let me preface this because so there was a statement made by Stephen A. Smith about Ohtani being the face of Major League Baseball, right, on First Take a couple days ago. Made waves. I've tweeted about it. Everyone's tweeted about it. Everyone was upset. He put out this thing saying that, that's not what he meant. And people were like, you still don't get it. And then he put out an apology statement, and people were still saying, you still don't get it. And then June Lee, who's a staff writer on ESPN. I love the dude, especially because like his story path of getting to ESPN because of like KBO and all that like happening last year during the pandemic, like it's so crazy. But he went on First Take and he was talking about just the systematic, like how we approach Asian American athletes or athletes of a foreign country in general that play in our American leagues, whether it be baseball, basketball, whatever. And I thought his statement was so poignant. It was so well said. I didn't like how Stephen A. Smith came out afterwards and was like turned it around on him again. I hated that part about it, but June's comments I think were exactly where I stand, and it was so beautifully said. I don't think there's any other like form of it being said that I could see being better than what he said about the fact about an Asian, foreigner being like the face of a sport and being so beloved by arguably all fans of said sport. So yeah, I highly recommend people to go listen to that. You can probably find it on Twitter. You can find it on June Lee's Twitter actually, and what he said. But
it was
really,
great.
really well done.
And I only found out about it because of your tweet, so that kind of brought me to. I mean, dude, I'm not gonna listen to Stephen A. Smith, but June Lee was great. I think I've seen him on Around the Horn before.
He's on Around the Horn.
Possible?
Yeah, he. So fun fact or fun moment was I think Sarah Spain asked June Lee about like why people love BTS, and it wasn't like an ignorant thing. It was like, please, I want to learn like why people love BTS so much, and he gives like a PhD report on it about like the Freudian like themes that it goes through in their album and the lyrics and all that. So if you have time, like go watch that. It was like an off the cuff Around the Horn that was like during a commercial break, but they recorded it. And it's up there, and you can listen to it and see why he thinks, so many people enjoy listening to BTS's music. So, but yeah, he's really good. I can't be more proud as a fellow Korean American. So, that's my victory canon. I think that's it. Yeah,
That was perfect.
You know where to find us. We're at Golden Bearcast. We have some things planned before the season begins where we might run an entire simulation of NCAA 14 with the Cal roster, and we'll do it live stream, and we'll do it all. We'll have some guests come on, like as we're live streaming, to talk about, who we're playing against and some other fun guests. But we're in the planning stage right now, so just be on the lookout for a date for that. But outside of that,
Go Bears.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.